Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If sign-in system in High School DxD. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Quick update. What If sign-in system in High School DxD is now on hold, since we've caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Gacha system in modern family world? What if Natsu has dual elements? What if transmigrated in one piece and becoming a marine? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 211, Kurumi's Tears at the Tombstone. Looking at Kurumi Tokisaki, who still remained skeptical of his words, I no longer wanted to waste time and directly transferred the memories related to Sawa Yamauchi's story to her. The next moment, a flood of images surged into Kurumi's mind. In the vision, after being mistakenly killed by Kurumi, Sawa Yamauchi fell into the neighboring world and merged with Kurumi's abandoned inverse form, becoming the White Queen. At the same time, Sawa hated the world that had crushed them. By a twist of fate, Kurumi herself fell into the neighboring world and met Sawa, but she didn't recognize Sawa, who had merged with her inverse form. Sawa expressed her desire to be with Kurumi again, but Kurumi repeated the events of the past. Finally, after being struck by Kurumi Tokisaki's yet, she made a heartfelt confession to Kurumi before disappearing. Back to reality. A long while later, Kurumi's mind once again replayed the scene of her killing Sawa. Her face suddenly turned deathly pale. How could this be? Immediately, Kurumi Tokisaki, her emotions spiraling out of control, muttered in pain and then vanished from the spot. As expected, this painful scene once again deeply stimulated Kurumi's nerves. I briefly explained the situation to Toka and the others, then immediately went out to find the emotionally distraught girl. The once lively city gradually shed the heat of summer, entering a desolate atmosphere. A gentle breeze blew, and the faint sound of a girl's soft sobs could be heard. On a desolate patch of grass stood a solitary tombstone, on which was written, "Tomb of my dearest friend, Sawa Yamauchi." Before the tombstone knelt a beautiful young girl. She wore a black gothic dress, adorned with red bows and lace on the hem. She wore black gloves, red armbands, and a pair of black high heels decorated with red bows and lace. Her overall image exuded a mysterious, gothic, and sensual feeling. Her long black hair cascaded down to her waist like a waterfall, her bangs covering her left eye. Her skin was as white as snow, her eyes red, with a golden clot pattern in her pupils. A tear mole under her right eye added a touch of mystery to her beauty. However, the girl kneeling before the tombstone had no trace of a sweet smile on her face, only an expression of pain. Gazing at the striking black and white photo on the tombstone, so cute and playful. Yet, the owner of this smile was no longer in this world. The girl's eyes widened. She reached out, her hand trembling as she touched the photo on the tombstone, muttering to herself, "Why? Why did this happen?" As her voice fell, the sky seemed to be enveloped in a haze, and raindrops began to fall. Why? Why? Is everything I've done all for nothing in the end? Can this tragic fate never be changed? As if in response to the girl's cries, the rain fell harder. The girl knelt before the tombstone, tears mingling with the rain, streaming down her face. The rain lasted for a long time, and the girl knelt before the tombstone all the while, until her tears ran dry and her eyes were bloodshot. The girl's sorrowful and heartbroken appearance added a certain charm to her already captivating figure, making one want to cherish and protect her. This girl, kneeling and crying before the tombstone, was none other than Kurumi Tokisaki, who had fled in a state of breakdown after learning the truth from me. Ever since learning the future, Kurumi had once again come to the burial place of her dearest friend, Sawa. Even though she tried to hold back her tears, she could no longer suppress the pain in her heart and cried out. She vaguely remembered that ever since she was deceived by the original spirit and mistakenly killed Sawa, she had rarely cried. She never thought she would break down and cry this time. Go on and cry, let out all the pain you've suppressed in your heart. Suddenly, a gentle male voice, tinged with a bit of heartache, sounded from behind Kurumi Tokisaki. Hearing the familiar male voice, Kurumi immediately stopped crying and stood up, turning to look. There stood a young man in a raisin high school uniform, his incredibly handsome face looking at her gently. Hibari Kyoya. The moment she saw him, as if unable to suppress the grief and anger in her heart any longer, Kurumi snapped, blurting out. What are you doing here? Do you want me to kill you? An icy aura erupted from her. But in my eyes, a faint black aura seemed to rise from her petite body. As if she was about to erupt at any moment. Is Kurumi-chan about to go dark? My cheeks couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Meeting Kurumi Tokisaki's kind gaze, I spread my hands and sighed helplessly. I came to persuade you, young lady, not to get stuck in a rut. You ran off before I could finish speaking at the school. Then what did you want to say? Actually, if you want to change your friend Sawa Yamauchi's fate, I can help you. Oh, help me? I'm curious how you're going to help me. Saying this, Kurumi Tokisaki, with her heterochromatic gold and red eyes, stared at me suspiciously. Meeting Kurumi's scrutinizing gaze, at this moment, I seemed to see another soul within her. That other Kurumi Tokisaki, clad in a white military uniform, with long white twin tails, and heterochromatic red and blue eyes. After regaining my senses, my expression turned serious. I looked at the beautiful face so close to me and began to coax her earnestly. Hey, Kurumi, you've never believed my words, have you? In that case, I'll let your friend Sawa Yamauchi talk to you personally. Let Sawa talk to me? Kurumi's expression froze upon hearing this. Then, as if guessing my intentions, she sneered coldly. I understand. You're planning to make me invert, right? But, let me tell you, that's impossible. In this world now, there's nothing that can make me invert. Kurumi-chan is really confident. I raised an eyebrow, looking at the girl before me with deep meaning, then mercilessly delivered the blow. If it were anyone else trying to make Kurumi-chan invert, it would indeed be hard. But for me, it's nothing. Chapter 212, Separating the Soul, Sawa Yamauchi's Return. Towards Kurumi Tokisaki's vigilance, I remained completely unconcerned, still gazing at her with a beaming smile. Ah, the inverted, white-haired Kurumi is very cool. She really hits all my preferences. But the current Kurumi-chan is also very sexy and cute. I like them all. Kurumi Tokisaki's lips twitched, a vein popping on her forehead. Seeing Kurumi Tokisaki fall silent, I immediately adjusted my state and spoke up. Although Sawa Yamauchi's soul is fused with your inverted form, making it a bit difficult to invert you now, nearly separating her soul is as easy as pie. Saying this, I suddenly opened my hand towards Kurumi Tokisaki. Facing the girl's wary and astonished expression, a blue light emanated from my hand. The next second, I casually clenched my fist. A strange power enveloped Kurumi Tokisaki's body. At this moment, Kurumi Tokisaki, still bewildered, suddenly felt a pain as if her soul were being torn apart. An indescribable pain spread throughout her body. Even the originally strong-willed Kurumi Tokisaki collapsed weakly to the ground. She couldn't even maintain her astral dress, which faded away. Damn it! What did you do? Now, Kurumi Tokisaki, completely powerless and limp on the ground, could only stare at me with resentment. Seeing this, I directly ignored Kurumi's fierce yet kitten-like little gaze and slowly walked towards her. Before Kurumi could refuse, I skillfully lifted her into my arms, sat down on a marble block, and placed her on my lap. What are you doing? Being held in a princess carry by a man, sitting on his lap, and embraced by him. Even though Kurumi Tokisaki was usually bold, at this moment, she was so shy she wanted to bury herself in a hole. No matter what, she was still a pure and innocent girl. I lightly tapped Kurumi Tokisaki's small, delicate nose. However, looking at her alluring little mouth and shy expression, I leaned in for a kiss. Mwah! Instantly, Kurumi Tokasaki's entire delicate body froze, her pretty little face instantly filled with confusion. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? What just happened? It took a full minute for Kurumi Tokasaki to finally snap out of it, her face as red as a steamed lobster. At this moment, the shame and anger in her heart were like a roaring tornado, capable of instantly destroying the world. Until now, she had never had any intimate contact with any member of the opposite sex. And now, looking at Kurumi's fluctuating expression, I sighed at my own carelessness, then quickly tried to remedy the situation. Kurumi-chan, you were just too cute. Hearing my words, Kurumi Tokasaki was so ashamed and angry, she really wanted to beat me up. Endure. I'll endure it. Kurumi Tokasaki could only suppress the impulse, gritting her teeth and saying slowly, it's nothing. Ahem, since you say it's nothing. I raised an eyebrow. Taking advantage of Kurumi's still dazed state, I leaned in towards her delicate red lips again. Kurumi Tokasaki, ? Again? This time, Kurumi Tokasaki couldn't bear it anymore. She was about to go berserk, but was interrupted by me. Hey, Kurumi-chan, I have a gift for you that's guaranteed to make you happy. A gift that will make me happy? What is it? Hearing this, Kurumi Tokasaki subconsciously forgot about what had just happened, her interest peaked. I squinted my eyes, looking at the successfully distracted girl in my arms, a smile on my lips. It's the soul of your best friend, Sawa Yamauchi. What? Hearing this, Kurumi Tokasaki's heart trembled, and she looked at me with utter amazement. Seeing this, I embraced Kurumi and extended my other hand before the girl, opening my hand. See? This sleeping girl's soul. Hearing my words, Kurumi's eyes lit up, her gaze falling on my outstretched hand. The sleeping girl with long chestnut hair tied in two small braids in the center of my hand, her figure, her appearance, and the black sailor suit of Raisin High School she wore. It wasn't just similar, it was identical. This was completely the Sawa from her memories years ago. It's Sawa. It's really Sawa. Looking at the floating soul, Kurumi's face showed a mix of joy and confusion. But, what happened to her? Unable to resist hugging the Kurumi in my arms tighter again, I then slowly explained with a smile. Because she was forcibly separated from your inverted form, she fell into a coma due to a lack of Ryuryoku. But I've already replenished her energy, so you don't have to worry. Phew, that's a relief. Kurumi finally took a deep breath, letting go of her worries. Then, she looked at me, who was still holding her, with suspicious eyes. By the way, this isn't some trick you've deliberately set up to deceive me, is it? Meeting Kurumi's scrutinizing gaze, I raised an eyebrow, a smile cracking my lips, my tone meaningful. Looks like Kurumi-chan doesn't believe me. In that case, I might as well just destroy the soul of Sawa Yamauchi. What? Don't. Kurumi was shocked upon hearing this. Although she acted nonchalant on the surface, her heart was in a complete panic. She immediately adopted a pitiful demeanor. Kyoya-kun, I was wrong, forgive me. Kurumi acting spoiled is too cute. However, to thoroughly exploit this tsundere, I still decided to give her a deep punishment. What are you doing? MMPH. Seeing the strange look in my eyes, Kurumi's heart skipped a beat, and she stammered. However, before Kurumi could finish, I had already lowered my head and launched an attack on her small mouth. In an instant, Kurumi's eyes gradually became hazy from my kiss. A flutter in her heart, she finally gave up struggling. Chapter 213, Sawa's Awakening, Temptation Before the Grave. After hearing about Sawa, Kurumi Tokasaki took a deep breath, looked at me, and asked curiously, so when will Sawa wake up? Glancing at the floating girl's soul before me, I dropped my playful demeanor, pondering for a moment before replying. To fully resurrect her, I'll need to reconstruct her body. However, I've already repaired her fragmented soul. She should wake up in a little while. Is that so? That's wonderful. Hearing this good news, Kurumi Tokasaki curled up in my arms, looking at the girl's soul with delight. A genuine smile appeared on her pretty, oval face, adding a touch of brilliance, making her incredibly moving. Hey, Kurumi. Your physical injuries should have recovered by now. Eh? Although I'm happy to hold you, Kurumi, my legs have gone numb. So, can you get off now? Hearing my request, Kurumi couldn't help but roll her eyes, her cheeks puffing out slightly, her eyes filled with resentment. Kyoya-kun, you're hurting my feelings. Besides, my body is still very weak right now, so you have to take good care of me. Saying this, Kurumi feigned a weak and listless state, pressing languidly against my chest. Because the girl was currently wearing a female school uniform pure with a hint of allure under this dual stimulation, I was enticed to the point of unbearable itchiness. Looking at Kurumi, who was playing the rogue, acting spoiled, and unaware of the severity of the situation, I revealed a meaningful smile. Dealing with a pure girl like Kurumi, who seems like an old hand but has actually had no contact with the opposite sex, I have plenty of ways to handle her. Although I can't discipline her with a rod, I can still collect some interest first. While the girl was still playing the rogue, I directly lowered my head and kissed her delicate lips. Forcefully kissed by me, Kurumi's body couldn't help but freeze. At this moment, Kurumi's mind went blank. She subconsciously pushed against my chest with both hands. Alas, it was of no use. Before long, the girl lost the strength to resist, allowing me to take what I wanted. After the deep kiss ended, Kurumi lay on my chest, her face flushed, and she giggled softly. Kyoya-kun is so bold. Aren't you afraid of being seen? What does it matter? It's not like anyone else is watching, I chuckled. Just then, a slightly teasing voice sounded in their ears. You're wrong about that, little brother. I saw everything. But speaking of which, Kurumi, is this what you're into now? Hearing the familiar voice, Kurumi Tokasaki's heart leaped in shock. She quickly got off me and looked towards the sound. The soul of her friend, Sawa Yamauchi, who had been in a deep sleep, had now, at some unknown point, awakened. At this moment, she was squinting, her small face slightly flushed as she looked at Kurumi. Her chestnut-colored long hair was tied into two small braids. Her familiar face always wore a sweet, warm smile, and she wore the familiar black sailor uniform of Raisin High School. However, although the Sawa Yamauchi before her was identical to the one she remembered, there was one difference: she had no body, only a soul floating in the air. Sawa? Is that really you? Witnessing the one-to-one sized girl greeting her, Kurumi's single, uncovered red eye revealed a look of disbelief. It's me, Sawa Yamauchi, in her soul state, nodded affirmatively, being stared at by Kurumi with incredulous eyes. Then, Sawa and her best friend looked at each other. She then smiled and floated before her. It's been a long time, Kurumi-chan. Hearing her friend's greeting again, at this moment, Kurumi's eyes instantly turned red, and she spoke with a smile. That's great, Sawa. It's really you. It's me, Kurumi-chan. Hearing this, Sawa Yamauchi also smiled, nodding affirmatively again. Then, as if remembering something, she looked at Kurumi Tokasaki with a guilty expression. Kurumi-chan, I know about all the efforts you've made for me all these years. I'm so sorry for making you endure so much pain. Hearing her best friend's long-awaited comforting words, Kurumi Tokasaki's tears finally couldn't be controlled, slowly streaming down her cheeks. Why is Kurumi-chan crying? You were just kissing a handsome little brother a moment ago. Why now? This isn't the Kurumi I remember. But speaking of which, Kurumi-chan, how have you become this bold? Doing this kind of thing in front of someone's grave, isn't that a bit too stimulating? Sawa Yamauchi, who had been comforting Kurumi, suddenly changed her tone, now teasing Kurumi in a frivolous manner. Sawa, you. Thinking about what she and I had just been doing, even the usually strong-willed Kurumi couldn't help but flush, feeling utterly mortified. After the girl's defeat, only I and the soul of Sawa Yamauchi were left, looking at each other. Just as I was about to greet Sawa Yamauchi, the soul girl Sawa took the initiative, revealing a sweet smile and greeting me. Hey, the one who separated me from Kurumi's inverse form fusion, that was you, wasn't it? Thank you so much for helping me and Kurumi. I nodded, quite pleased. However, I then looked at this little beauty with a half smile. Since I've done you two such a big favor, is there any reward? Hearing this, Kurumi and Sawa both blushed, their small faces turning as red as apples. As if thinking of something fun, Sawa Yamauchi glanced at Kurumi Tokisaki and replied with a mischievous grin. As for why Sawa Yamauchi would offer up Kurumi, it was because she knew Kurumi was interested in me. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been kissing and cuddling with him. Arasawa, what are you talking about? Seeing her best friend actually sell her out, Kurumi Tokisaki's face revealed a wicked smile. But your idea is indeed not bad. Then how about I give Sawa to Kyoya-kun? What do you think? Chapter 214, The Persecution of Sawa. Is there such a good thing? Two beautiful girls delivered right to my doorstep? To refuse would be an injustice to heaven. Since they've come to me, what reason do I have to refuse? Then, I directly made my move, wrapping my arms around Kurumi Tokisaki's waist from behind, my smile widening as I looked at Sawa Yamauchi. Since you're so enthusiastic, I'll accept Kurumi-chan and Sawa-chan as my girlfriends. Kurumi and Sawa were stunned by my direct action. However, Kurumi, who somewhat understood my personality, blushed slightly but didn't say much. Sawa Yamauchi, on the other hand, was quite agitated. Hey, I haven't agreed yet. As if thinking of something fun, Sawa Yamauchi said with a mischievous smile, but speaking of which, in this empty place, doesn't little brother want to do something? For example, wouldn't you want to push Kurumi down right here? Hearing this, I was momentarily at a loss. Girl, you're a bit of a black belly, aren't you? Well, actually, I do want to push Kurumi-chan down. But before that, let's solve Sawa-chan's problem first. Releasing Kurumi from my embrace, I looked at the soul-state Sawa Yamauchi. At this moment, I paused, looking the cute and playful girl up and down, a strange smile on my face. Sawa-chan, do you want Kurumi's inverted body, or do you want your original body? My words stunned not only Sawa but also Kurumi. Especially Kurumi, until now, she had never seen her inverted form. Noticing the mischievous smile on my face, Kurumi, as if guessing something, curved her lips into a wicked smile. The next moment, Kurumi walked towards me with light steps, one black-stockinged leg rubbing between my thighs. Does Hibari-kun want to play with two of me at the same time? I have no objection, as long as Hibari-kun is willing, not only me but also my clones are available. Hiss. However, I still shook my head, reached out, and gently pinched Kurumi's small cheek. Although Kurumi's words are very tempting, I'll still reshape Sawa's original body for her. After all, you are both unique existences. As I spoke, I prepared to use the power of the Suniaster to reshape a body for Sawa Yamauchi. As I activated the Suniaster, a dazzling light suddenly shone on the scene. After the light completely dissipated, a girl's body, identical to the soul-state Sawa Yamauchi, appeared out of thin air before the three of them. And upon witnessing the appearance of this body, Kurumi was completely shocked, marveling at its magic. So similar. It's so similar to Sawa. Not just the appearance, but even the figure is exactly the same. Then, as if sensing something, Kurumi glanced at me beside her with a mischievous smile, who was staring intently at this body. I didn't expect Kyoya-kun to be fond of looking at girls' naked bodies. Yeah. Just as Kurumi's voice fell, Sawa, still in her soul state beside her, reacted and let out a scream. Sawa Yamauchi looked at her own body that had appeared out of thin air, a blush on her face, unsure if it was from shame or anger. This body's appearance and figure were indeed the same as hers, but it was completely naked, without a single piece of clothing. Even when bathing in a hot spring, she had never been like this in front of others, yet now she was completely naked. Even if it was just in front of her and Kurumi, two girls, it would be fine. But the key was, Kyoya was also here. And he was staring intently at her body. To this, I also felt slightly embarrassed. Glancing at the girl's body before me, I hadn't anticipated that the reshaped body would be unclothed. But at the time, I had only thought about reshaping the body. So, this situation wasn't particularly strange to me. However, since it had already happened, adhering to the principle that it's foolish not to take advantage of an opportunity, I began to appreciate and comment on it from an artist's perspective. Her figure is quite similar to Kurumi's. But that pair of slimes seem a bit small. And that. Indeed. The next moment, Kurumi also joined in with great interest, even occasionally exchanging opinions with me, persecuting her best friend together. Why are you still looking? Hurry up and turn around. Hentai, pervert, rogue. Well, Sawa-chan is so pure. I decided not to tease this girl anymore and immediately turned around, not forgetting to remind her, Sawa-chan, hurry up and merge with your new body. Hearing my reminder, the innocent Sawa Yamauchi could only obey. Immediately, her soul state transformed into a streak of white light, directly entering the new body. Under my and Kurumi's watch, after just a few seconds, the originally lifeless body, devoid of any signs of life, suddenly took a breath, then slowly opened its eyes. The resurrected Sawa Yamauchi looked at her hands in disbelief, as if everything before her was a dream, unreal. Am I really alive? However, the next moment, when Sawa Yamauchi, who had just been resurrected in a physical body, saw my heated gaze, she let out another ear-piercing scream. Ah! Then, she used both arms to tightly cover the key parts of her body. Her face beat red as she stared at me, who was still looking at her. Seeing the girl's shy and on the verge of collapse appearance, although I was somewhat reluctant, I immediately used magic to conjure a set of girl's clothes for her. Chapter 215. Bickering best friends, picking out lingerie for Kurumi. Looking at the clothes that suddenly appeared on her body, Sawa Yamauchi finally breathed a sigh of relief, though the red on her face still lingered. Her chestnut-brown long hair, braided into 2 plaits, draped over her shoulders. A sweet and gentle smile appeared on her face. Sawa Yamauchi, wearing the Raisin High School girl's uniform in her current state, she was also a vibrant and beautiful girl. Looking at the 2 girls sitting together, pouring their hearts out to each other, I tactfully didn't interrupt them. After all, having been separated for so long, they had much to say to each other. With nothing to do, I gave Toka a call. As soon as it connected, a worried greeting came from the other end. Kyoya, where are you now? Are you okay? Listening to the continuous concern from the other end of the phone, I couldn't help but feel a surge of warmth. Don't worry, Toka, I'm fine. By the way, are you, Shirori, and Origami still at school? No, after you left, everyone woke up. But it seems due to the spacequake, school is temporarily cancelled for today. Is that so? I'll be bringing Kurumi and a friend of hers home tonight. Let Kotori and the others know. As for this afternoon, I won't be back yet. Oh, I see. After chatting for a while, the 2 hung up. Looking at Sawa and Kurumi, who were still talking, I glanced at the time on my phone and interrupted the conversation between the 2 girls. Since the matter is resolved, let's take advantage of the afternoon and go to the mall to buy some daily necessities for you too. Tomorrow, I'll have someone handle Sawa's school enrollment procedures and transfer her to our class. If there's still time, I'll take her on a tour of the school. I proposed with a smile. A school tour won't be necessary. Sawa Yamauchi, resurrected in a human body, looked at her best friend Kurumi and explained seriously, after all, yesterday when you showed Kurumi around the school, I saw everything clearly from inside Kurumi's body. Stupid Sawa. If you dare to talk nonsense again, see how we deal with you. What do you mean, inside my body? What do you think you are? A roundworm in my stomach? Looking at her friend, who was now spouting crazy talk again, Kurumi's forehead was covered in dark lines. But that's the truth. Seeing her friend's disgusted and warning look, Sawa immediately put on a pitiful act. Kurumi, you're disgusted with me now? Whoa, Kurumi, you've forgotten your friend for a new love. You've forgotten me for the little handsome brother. Era, is that so? Looking at her airhead friend, Kurumi's pupils turned crimson, a pathological smile on her face. Looks like Sawa-chan needs to be properly taught. Kyoya-chan, how about I help you subdue her, and we can eat this idiot. Oh, I haven't tried a field battle myself. Sounds interesting. Hearing her friend's malicious words, and me even nodding seriously, Sawa blushed furiously. You perverted woman. To actually betray your friend. Serves you right that no one wants you, you 40-something-year-old auntie. What did you say? I said you're an old auntie. An old woman no one wants. Humph, that'll piss you off. Shut up. As if you're not an old auntie. Good grief, are girls' fights always this fierce nowadays? But I do like watching girls fight each other. Because that way, I can see some good stuff. Subsequently, I stepped forward, interrupting the two bickering girls, and said with a helpless laugh, "All right, stop bickering. We don't have much time. Let's go. By the way, Kurumi, you were in the rain for so long. Is your body okay? Era, don't forget, I'm known as Nightmare. How could a little rain affect me?" Hearing my words of concern, although Kurumi felt a hint of sweetness in her heart, she, being ever the tsundere, showed a disdainful expression. Alright, anyway, a spirit's constitution is quite strong. Without further ado, I took Kurumi and Sawa to the Tengu City Commercial Street. Inside a women's clothing store, Kurumi and Sawa were happily picking out their respective clothes. I, on the other hand, sat at the entrance of the store, boredly playing with my phone. After all, I had no interest in shopping. Not long after, I looked up and found Kurumi standing before me at some point, looking at me with a shyly lowered head. I suddenly want to buy some lingerie. Can Kyoya-chan help me pick some out? Hearing this, I turned my head to look at a women's lingerie store, then said righteously, "It would be my absolute pleasure." Hearing these words, a happy smile instantly appeared on Kurumi's face. Then I'll have to trouble Kyoya-chan. Please help me pick out a cute style of lingerie. Entering the lingerie store, my eyes were dazzled by the various styles of lingerie. Although I had passed by many women's lingerie stores before, this was the first time I had ever set foot in this sacred place. For a man, this could be considered heaven. However, it was worth noting that the lingerie store was filled exclusively with women, including the staff. So, although the scene inside was very tempting, no man would choose to enter alone. After all, they didn't want to die of social anxiety. Fortunately, when I walked in, Kurumi hugged my arm, acting very intimate. To this, when the staff in the store saw Kurumi beside me, they all withdrew their original scrutinizing and strange gazes. Noticing this, I also breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. After all, even with my considerable social confidence, I couldn't withstand the scrutinizing gazes of so many women. Kurumi, I find myself loving you more and more. Era, then how much does Kyoya-chan love me? Kurumi smiled at me. Looking at Kurumi's smile, I hesitated for a moment, then chuckled softly. My love for you is indescribable. I just want to say, my mind is filled with thoughts of being with Kurumi every day. Kyoya-chan has probably said this to many girls, right? After smiling and speaking, Kurumi seemed to see a style of lingerie she liked and skipped over. The next moment, Kurumi picked up 2 sets of lingerie, held them against herself, and then asked me, "Era, which one does Kyoya-chan like?" These 2 sets of blue and purple lingerie were both styled with exquisite lace as decoration, sexy with a hint of cuteness. But, are you sure you want me to choose? I want Kyoya-chan to help me pick one out. Hearing this, I observed for a moment, then spoke, "I like both of these very much, but they're not my favorite type." Kurumi, upon hearing this, put down the 2 sets of lingerie in her hand and asked with a curious expression, "Then what type does Kyoya-chan like the most?" Having already found my target style, I pointed towards a piece of lingerie behind Kurumi. "I like this one the most." Kurumi followed my finger and turned to look at the rack behind her. There, hanging on the rack, was a lace lingerie set made of black, almost completely transparent fabric. If worn, it would probably be like wearing nothing at all. It was too erotic. As her gaze fell on this lingerie, Kurumi couldn't help but be slightly stunned. She then looked at me and smiled, pursing her lips. I didn't expect Kyoya-chan to be so Chapter 216, perverts on the prowl, protecting our Kurumi. Era Kyoya-chan is so lewd. Saying this, Kurumi returned the 2 sets of sexy yet cute lingerie she had been holding to the shelf. Then, she slowly walked over to the lingerie that looked quite risque and gently picked it up. Looking at the almost completely transparent black lace lingerie, even Kurumi, with her usually calm demeanor, couldn't help but blush. To this, I spread my hands nonchalantly and said, well, I actually prefer no underwear. But I feel this lingerie would suit Kurumi-chan very well. Since Kyoya-chan specially picked it for me, I'll try it on. Then, could Kyoya-chan help me see if it fits? Of course, no problem. Hearing this, I said seriously, after Kurumi-chan puts it on, please let me have a good look. Watching Kurumi walk into the fitting room, I couldn't help but smile. I was just appreciating the view, nothing more. I definitely had no other intentions. But speaking of which, I feel like I'm becoming more and more of a pervert. If it wasn't for origami's influence, could I really have those strange fetishes? Just as Kurumi walked into the fitting room, I, who was sitting on the sofa in the waiting area, lost in thought, suddenly found my vision go black. Looking up, I saw Sawa Yamauchi, dressed in the Raisin High School uniform, standing before me. Kyoya-kun, why are you sitting here? This is a women's lingerie store. Saying this, Sawa looked at me with a strange expression. A man sitting so openly in a women's lingerie store, no matter how you think about it, he must have ulterior motives. Oh, it's Sawa. I was just helping Kurumi pick out some lingerie. By the way, Sawa, would you like me to pick something out for you too? I have a great eye for these things. After briefly explaining the situation, I rubbed my nose and looked at the girl with a grin. Hearing me say this, Sawa Yamauchi was slightly stunned. Then, her neck turned red at a visible speed. And no, thank you. I can pick it out myself. Hearing this, Sawa Yamauchi said, feigning composure. Then, without looking back, she quickly ran off. Watching the shy, fleeing Sawa Yamauchi, I smiled and didn't pay it much mind. You can run for a while, but you can't run forever. Just then, Kurumi poked her small head out of the fitting room, a blush on her little face. Kyoya-chan, can you come in and help me see if this suits me? I glanced at Kurumi, then stood up. Under the astonished gaze of Sawa Yamauchi in the distance, I walked into the fitting room. After closing the door, just in case, I also applied a runic spell, completely isolating the entire fitting room from the outside world. At this moment, inside the fitting room, looking at the figure that severely belied her actual age, wearing the lace lingerie I had picked out for her. Because the girl was wearing this semi-transparent lingerie, her movements now revealed 2 fair and smooth legs beneath the lace. My gaze was instantly captivated, as if wanting to explore the deeper scenery beyond her lace lingerie. Noticing my gaze, Kurumi Tokisaki didn't mind at all. She smiled and said, Kyoya-chan, what do you think? Hearing Kurumi's question, I took a deep breath and said, Kurumi, do you want to hear the truth? Kurumi looked up and, looking at me, said seriously, of course, I want to hear the truth. Hearing this, my expression also became serious, my gaze continuously sweeping up and down Kurumi. Does it not look good? Noticing my expression, a trace of disappointment flashed in Kurumi's eyes, her expression becoming downcast. However, I shook my head and stated with utmost certainty, no. It looks great. So great that I can't help but get excited. What got excited? Kurumi was stunned for a moment, then her eyes shifted downwards. As if discovering something, she suddenly burst into laughter. Ha! Immediately, Kurumi wrapped her arms around my neck and leaned in. Feeling the strange sensation on my lips and the softness of her body, I couldn't help but feel a little flustered. Then, I wrapped my arms around the girl and slowly responded. Not long after, Kurumi, held in my embrace, suddenly trembled. As a girl who was actually over 40 years old, Kurumi naturally knew what was pressing against her lower abdomen. This couldn't help but make her a little shy. This kissing scene lasted until both of them were out of breath. I don't know why, but right now, I can't suppress the impulse in my heart. I want to become one with Kyoya-chan, Kurumi panted, leaning against my chest, feeling the warmth of his body and his scent, her eyes becoming somewhat hazy. I have no objections. But Sawa is still waiting for us outside. So, let's save such a precious thing for next time. I revealed a faint smile, offering my suggestion. You're right. A few minutes later, the three of them emerged from the women's lingerie store, my hands full of large and small bags, including the new lingerie I had just bought for Kurumi. As for how Kurumi changed her clothes, of course, she changed directly in front of me. The reason was naturally that I was worried about perverts breaking in. Walking out of the mall, Sawa looked her friend up and down, asking with a mischievous smile, "Hey, Kurumi, did Kyoya-kun do anything just now when he went into the fitting room? Didn't he push you down in there?" Hearing this, Kurumi Tokusaki's face instantly turned as black as ink. However, the next moment, Kurumi showed no agitated reaction. Instead, she revealed a wicked smile. "Arasawa, we haven't seen each other for so long. Let's stay in the same room tonight. I'll have a good chat with you. And no, I don't want to share a room with you. I was wrong. Please forgive me." Frightened by Kurumi's malicious expression, Sawa quickly begged for mercy. However, Sawa had clearly forgotten her friend's evil and quirky personality. Seeing Sawa's pleading expression, it was as if some attribute within Kurumi had been awakened. She became even more excited, continuously tormenting her friend with words. Chapter 217, Two Generations of Flame Spirits, The Stubborn Nana. As two sets of crisp footsteps echoed, the students in the classroom looked up to see two figures walking in from outside. Looking closely, they saw their homeroom teacher, Ms. Okamine, walking to the podium with a bright smile. As for the other person beside her, her appearance made the students below light up. Chestnut-brown long hair was woven into twin tails, and she possessed a naturally healing, warm, sunny smile. She wore the Raisin High School girl's uniform. Before the students below could start discussing, Ms. Okamine, on the podium, spoke in a soft voice. "Class, let me introduce our new transfer student, Sawa Yamauchi. Let's welcome her. Clap. Clap. Clap." The next second, thunderous applause erupted. The students immediately expressed their welcome to this new beautiful girl transfer student. So lucky. Our class has another beautiful girl. Ah, this time, they'll probably be full of envy. Exactly. Our class now has the most beauties in the entire school. But I hope this new beautiful girl transfer student won't fall victim to that scumbag's evil clutches again. Hearing this, the originally excited boys instantly turned envious, jealous, and hateful, their gazes frequently turning towards the public enemy of boys in the second-to-last row. At this moment, Kurumi, sitting behind me, upon seeing Sawa Yamauchi enter the classroom, lifted her gaze from her phone and clapped for her friend with a genuine smile. Sawa Yamauchi's gaze swept across the room, also noticing her friend sitting in the last row. Their eyes met, and they exchanged a smile. After the applause subsided, Sawa Yamauchi also retracted her gaze, wrote her name on the blackboard, and began her routine self-introduction. "Hello everyone, my name is Sawa Yamauchi." For Sawa Yamauchi, who had experienced life and death, this kind of scene was a piece of cake. After briefly talking about her hobbies, Sawa Yamauchi concluded, "I hope we can get along well in the coming time." Besides that, she didn't mention her age or anything. This was completely borrowed from Kurumi's behavior yesterday. "Alright, Yamauchi-san, you can find a seat yourself." Ms. Okamine, the homeroom teacher, smiled and gestured. As soon as her voice fell, many boys enthusiastically extended invitations, asking Sawa Yamauchi to sit next to them. To this, Sawa Yamauchi also smiled and politely declined their invitations one by one, and then, under the watchful eyes of the entire class, Sawa Yamauchi walked to the spot diagonally behind me, beside Kurumi Tokusaki. The boys, seeing the seat Sawa Yamauchi chose, were instantly surprised. Why did she choose to be near that popular guy? That scumbag, relying on his good looks, is too deceptive. He must have made Yamauchi-san think he's a good student. Yamauchi-san, Habari-kun is a seasoned driver who eats people without spitting out the bones. Don't be fooled by his appearance. Majide Kuso Yaro, he really is scumbag. Hey, hey, hey! What nonsense are you guys talking about? Being called a scumbag who eats people without spitting out the bones, I immediately protested, don't talk nonsense and slander my good name. What scumbag, what popular guy? I'm a good student. Sawa-chan, if you don't understand anything, just ask me. I looked at Sawa Yamauchi, revealing a confident smile, sitting upright and gentlemanly. Thank you. After yesterday's, interaction, how could Sawa not know my true colors? But she still revealed a sweet smile. You. Seeing my appearance, the students who knew my true nature immediately booed. At this moment, Origami Tabichi's gaze towards Sawa Yamauchi couldn't help but show a trace of vigilance. Looks like this rival is not to be underestimated. As for the other students, seeing me getting along so well with Kurumi Tokasaki, as well as Toka and Shirori, and the new transfer student, it made them suspect that I had already known the new transfer student, Sawa, before. After the small interlude, Ms. Okamine began today's lesson. As for me and the others, we were all slacking off in our own ways. However, Sawa Yamauchi, unlike the now self-deprecating young lady Kurumi, nor Kyoya who ate, drank, and played all day, nor the corrupted Toka. Now, returning to campus life, she vowed to be a good student who studied hard. Initially, when the homeroom teacher, Ms. Okamine, saw the new student choose to sit in the last row, and even getting close to me, she felt a headache coming on. She was now very afraid that this new student would be corrupted by me, just like Yatagami. However, upon noticing that Sawa Yamauchi, like Origami Tabichi and Shirori, was a good student who paid attention in class, she also breathed a sigh of relief. Looks like there are still many good students who pay attention in class. In contrast, I was lying on the desk, a complete change from my earlier elegance. My black hair was scattered across my forehead, my gaze lazy as I lay on the desk. Before long, I had fallen fast asleep. Until the afternoon, 3 o'clock, the last class. Only then did I slowly wake up. I rubbed my eyes, my blurry vision gradually becoming clear. Looking around, I saw all the students in the class were chatting. For some reason, Rain was also in the classroom. As expected of me, I slept for a whole day. I thought happily, unable to resist stretching. Thinking about it carefully, this kind of daily life is actually quite good. Unfettered every day, and sparking the flames of love with beautiful spirit girls. No one should be able to refuse this kind of life, right? Everyone, please be quiet. Just then, the homeroom teacher, Ms. Okamine, stood on the podium, her gaze sweeping across the entire class. And everyone's attention was also drawn to her, including myself. The school has announced that there will be a school trip next week. So everyone, please make preparations in advance after you go home, understand? Hearing this, a cheer erupted in the class, and they all started discussing this activity. What's a school trip? Hearing this, Shirori beside her briefly explained the general content. Upon hearing that the school trip was for relaxation and broadening one's horizons, Toka showed no interest. However, her eyes lit up upon hearing there would be delicious food. And I, upon hearing school trip, my mind instantly lit up, as if remembering something. If I'm not mistaken, those spirit Yamai sisters seem to appear during the school trip. In that case, I'm looking forward to the school trip. Chapter 218, Good Student Sawa, the School Trip. As two sets of crisp footsteps echoed, the students in the classroom looked up to see two figures walking in from outside. Looking closely, they saw their homeroom teacher, Ms. Okamine, walking to the podium with a bright smile. As for the other person beside her, her appearance made the students below light up. Chestnut brown long hair was woven into twin tails, and she possessed a naturally healing, warm, sunny smile. She wore the Raisin High School girls' uniform. Before the students below could start discussing, Ms. Okamine, on the podium, spoke in a soft voice. Class, let me introduce our new transfer student, Sawa Yamauchi. Let's welcome her. Clap. 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 The next second, thunderous applause erupted. The students immediately expressed their welcome to this new beautiful girl transfer student. So lucky. Our class has another beautiful girl. This time, they'll probably be full of envy. Exactly. Our class now has the most beauties in the entire school. But I hope this new beautiful girl transfer student won't fall victim to that scumbag's evil clutches again. Hearing this, the originally excited boys instantly turned envious, jealous, and hateful, their gazes frequently turning towards the public enemy of boys in the second to last row. At this moment, Kurumi, sitting behind me, upon seeing Sawa Yamauchi enter the classroom, lifted her gaze from her phone and clapped for her friend with a genuine smile. Sawa Yamauchi's gaze swept across the room, also noticing her friend sitting in the last row. Their eyes met, and they exchanged a smile. After the applause subsided, Sawa Yamauchi also retracted her gaze, wrote her name on the blackboard, and began her routine self-introduction. Hello everyone, my name is Sawa Yamauchi. For Sawa Yamauchi, who had experienced life and death, this kind of scene was a piece of cake. After briefly talking about her hobbies, Sawa Yamauchi concluded, I hope we can get along well in the coming time. Besides that, she didn't mention her age or anything. This was completely borrowed from Kurumi's behavior yesterday. Alright, Yamauchi-san, you can find a seat yourself. Ms. Okamine, the homeroom teacher, smiled and gestured. As soon as her voice fell, many boys enthusiastically extended invitations, asking Sawa Yamauchi to sit next to them. To this, Sawa Yamauchi also smiled and politely declined their invitations one by one, and then, under the watchful eyes of the entire class, Sawa Yamauchi walked to the spot diagonally behind me, beside Kurumi Tokisaki. The boys, seeing the seat Sawa Yamauchi chose, were instantly surprised. Why did she choose to be near that popular guy? That scumbag, relying on his good looks, is too deceptive. He must have made Yamauchi-san think he's a good student. Yamauchi-san, Habari-kun is a seasoned driver who eats people without spitting out the bones. Don't be fooled by his appearance. Majide Kuso Yaro, he really is scumbag. Hey! What nonsense are you guys talking about? Being called a scumbag who eats people without spitting out the bones, I immediately protested, don't talk nonsense and slander my good name. What scumbag, what popular guy? I'm a good student. Sawa-chan, if you don't understand anything, just ask me. I looked at Sawa Yamauchi, revealing a confident smile, sitting upright and gentlemanly. Thank you. After yesterday's, interaction, how could Sawa not know my true colors? But she still revealed a sweet smile. You. Seeing my appearance, the students who knew my true nature immediately booed. At this moment, Origami Tabichi's gaze towards Sawa Yamauchi couldn't help but show a trace of vigilance. Looks like this rival is not to be underestimated. As for the other students, seeing me getting along so well with Kurumi Tokisaki, as well as Toka and Shirori, and the new transfer student, it made them suspect that I had already known the new transfer student, Sawa, before. After the small interlude, Ms. Okamine began today's lesson. As for me and the others, we were all slacking off in our own ways. However, Sawa Yamauchi, unlike the now self-deprecating young lady Kurumi, nor Kyoya who ate, drank, and played all day, nor the corrupted Toka. Now, returning to campus life, she vowed to be a good student who studied hard. Initially, when the homeroom teacher, Ms. Okamine, saw the new student choose to sit in the last row, and even getting close to me, she felt a headache coming on. She was now very afraid that this new student would be corrupted by me, just like Yatagami. However, upon noticing that Sawa Yamauchi, like Origami Tabichi and Shirori, was a good student who paid attention in class, she also breathed a sigh of relief. Looks like there are still many good students who pay attention in class. In contrast, I was lying on the desk, a complete change from my earlier elegance. My black hair was scattered across my forehead, my gaze lazy as I lay on the desk. Before long, I had fallen fast asleep. Until the afternoon, 3 o'clock, the last class. Only then did I slowly wake up. I rubbed my eyes, my blurry vision gradually becoming clear. Looking around, I saw all the students in the class were chatting. For some reason, Rain was also in the classroom. As expected of me, I slept for a whole day. I thought happily, unable to resist stretching. Thinking about it carefully, this kind of daily life is actually quite good. Unfettered every day, and sparking the flames of love with beautiful spirit girls. No one should be able to refuse this kind of life, right? Everyone, please be quiet. Just then, the homeroom teacher, Ms. Okamine, stood on the podium, her gaze sweeping across the entire class. And everyone's attention was also drawn to her, including myself. The school has announced that there will be a school trip next week. So everyone, please make preparations in advance after you go home, understand? Hearing this, a cheer erupted in the class, and they all started discussing this activity. What's a school trip? Hearing this, Shirori beside her briefly explained the general content. Upon hearing that the school trip was for relaxation and broadening one's horizons, Toka showed no interest. However, her eyes lit up upon hearing there would be delicious food. And I, upon hearing school trip, my mind instantly lit up, as if remembering something. If I'm not mistaken, those spirit Yamai sisters seem to appear during the school trip. In that case, I'm looking forward to the school trip. Chapter 219, The King's Game, Toka's Despair. Ding dong ding. Simultaneously, the end of school bell rang. Ms. Okamine stood up and looked at the students below. Alright, class, you're dismissed. After speaking, Ms. Okamine left the classroom with Rain Morrisame. At this moment, Origami, from her seat on the left, glanced at me, then stood up and walked over. What is it, Origami? Origami glanced at Toka, who was hugging my arm, and said faintly, Come to my house tonight. Why should Kyoya go to your house? Toka, hearing this, instantly sensed something was wrong and stared at her warily. To have a party, of course. Hearing this, Toka's gaze fixed on Origami, and she said firmly, I'm going too. No. You can't come. Why? Because that's time for me and Kyoya to be alone. So, no disturbances allowed. Origami wanted to settle the matter once and for all. A strange glint flickered in her eyes as she calculated her little plan. However, towards Origami's explanation, Toka wasn't buying it. Her face tensed, and she said very forcefully, If I can't go, then I won't let Kyoya go either. Hearing this, Origami frowned slightly, then glanced at me beside her. After careful consideration, Origami finally agreed to let her join. Speaking of which, school in Japan really ended early. It was only a little past 3 in the afternoon, and school was already out. Returning home, I made dinner for all the girls. After all, I might have to deal with demons tonight and wouldn't be back. Taking off my apron, I glanced at my phone. It was already 5:30. Origami's club activities were over. It was time to go find her. I brought Toka along and walked into Origami's apartment building. Relying on memory, I found the doorplate with the name Tabichi and rang the doorbell. As soon as the doorbell rang, the door opened. The next moment, Origami Tabichi, dressed in a white garter belt-made outfit, appeared before the two of us. Welcome home, master. After first bowing and greeting, Origami looked up and noticed Toka hugging my arm, glaring at her. However, thinking of the backup plan she had prepared, she couldn't help but feel relieved. Seeing Origami's attire, especially the absolute territory between her white stockings and the hem of her skirt, my eyes lit up. Then, Toka and I walked in together. Master, please have some tea. As the two of us sat on the living room couch, Origami held a tray with both hands before her, bowing slightly, looking at me with a gentle expression. Looking at Origami kneeling beside me, my nose twitched slightly. The scent of shower gel wafted over. It seemed Origami had just finished showering. Please have some tea. She respectfully placed the 2 cups of tea from the tray in front of me and Toka. At a glance, Toka's tea seemed nothing special, just plain boiled water. My cup, however, had a strange color, and was even bubbling. For a moment, I even suspected that Origami might have poisoned me. This is a health drink to replenish your energy. Hearing this, I was immediately displeased. Origami, are you questioning my physical stamina? Are you kidding me? With my constitution, I can go all night without breaking a sweat. Then you're not allowed to sleep tonight. Hearing this, I was instantly intrigued. Was she planning to fight me until dawn? The next moment, when I noticed Origami bring out several boxes of beer and a box with only 3 cards, Toka and I were stunned. Immediately, Origami explained, "King's game. The one who draws the king, the highest number, gives a task to the commoners and it must be executed. If you refuse to execute it, you must drink a large glass of beer." King's game? Seems interesting. Instantly, my mind recalled the 2-episode King's Game anime from my previous life. It was quite stimulating. No problem. Let's begin. I smiled confidently, already thinking about what kind of tasks to issue later. To this, a sharp glint flashed in Origami's eyes. She shuffled the number cards and placed them in the box. Afterward, the 3 of us each drew a card. I looked at the number 5 on my card, indicating I wasn't the king. So who's the king? Origami revealed the card in her hand. It clearly showed the word king. She read it out loud. I now command number 3 to lift her skirt, revealing her panties, and maintain the position for 60 seconds. What? Looking at the number 3 card in her hand, Toka was instantly embarrassed, her face filled with shame and anger. Origami Tabichi. How could you issue such a lewd task? To this, Origami nonchalantly pointed to the beer beside her and said faintly, "If you don't execute the king's command, you'll have to drink a whole bottle of beer. You decide." Saying this, a strange light flickered in Origami's eyes, and she just watched Toka like that. Whoa, would drink. To be honest, Toka had never had alcohol before, but she had heard the 3 spirit girls say that drinking would make you drunk and unconscious. The image of Nia drinking flashed through her mind. If she got drunk, wouldn't Kyoya be in danger? Looking at Origami's smug expression, Toka suppressed her shyness, then lifted her skirt. Instantly, a pair of cute, cat-patterned panties were exposed to me and Origami. Origami muttered with some disappointment, "Looks like this command was still too simple." When the 60 seconds were up, Toka was red from her head to her neck, like a boiled shrimp. If I were the only one here, it would have been fine, but showing her panties in front of Origami was just too embarrassing for her. Let's continue. I'll definitely draw the king next round. After pulling down her skirt, Toka shot Origami a fierce glare. Immediately, the second round began. Why am I the smallest again? Looking at the number in her hand that seemed to be mocking her, Toka was instantly dumbfounded. Her earlier declaration had been instantly shattered. Especially when Origami revealed the card in her hand again, showing the king. Toka instantly panicked, looking at Origami with a look of utter despair, afraid she would issue another lewd task. Chapter 220. Origami's plan succeeds, the bell rings all night. Looking at the king card in her hand, Origami couldn't help but narrow her eyes slightly, a strange smile on her face. And Origami's smile, falling upon Toka's eyes, instantly made her hairs stand on end. Hey, Origami. Don't tell me you want me to show my panties again. Recalling the task Origami had issued before, Toka still hadn't recovered, her small face still flushed red. Towards Toka's questioning, Origami didn't answer. Instead, she took out a set of clothes from a wardrobe. Looking at the dog ear accessories, a collar with a bell attached, and a dogtail decorated maid outfit on the table, a sense of unease rose in Toka's heart. And I, however, had a sudden realization. Isn't this the arrow maid outfit from the anime? Origami looked at the nervous Toka, then issued this round's task. This time I command you to wear this outfit, then crawl around the table 3 times, and you have to bark like a dog, woof woof woof. As soon as Origami's voice fell, Toka instantly broke down. To this, even I couldn't help but marvel. Origami really has a lot of tricks up her sleeve. Origami Tabichi. You. These things. After a few seconds, Toka's face turned beet red, and she even started to stammer. If you can't do it, then you have to drink this glass of wine. Looking at the wine Origami had poured, Toka imagined what she would look like after putting on this outfit and couldn't help but shiver. Then she looked at the glass filled with beer. If I just drink 1 glass, I probably won't get drunk, right? Thinking of this, Toka was somewhat hesitant. She looked at the calm Origami. Noticing Toka's gaze, Origami said faintly, "If you can't drink it, you'll be directly eliminated." "It's just drinking. I'm not afraid." Gently picking up the glass filled by Origami, Toka took a big gulp. Although it tasted somewhat unpleasant, Toka still endured and finished it, her small face turning rosy. "Let's continue." After putting down the glass, Toka shot Origami a defiant look. The new round began. "Great! I'm the king this time." The next moment, Toka excitedly held up the king card in her hand, then glared fiercely at Origami. "This time, I want you to lift your skirt too." "How about that, Origami Tabichi? Lifting your skirt in front of me and Kyoya, doesn't just the thought of it make you shy? If you feel shy and don't want to do it, you can just..." However, the next second, before Toka could finish her triumphant gloating, Origami unhesitatingly walked in front of me and even lifted her skirt, covering my head with it. Looking at the vacuum state right before his eyes, my brain directly short-circuited, only one sentence in my mind. As expected of Origami. "You. Don't you have any sense of shame?" Origami tilted her head and replied nonchalantly, "You're the one who issued the task, right?" "I'm just completing the task." "I issued the task, that's right." But I didn't tell you to lift your skirt and cover Kyoya's head with it." Toka's voice, filled with shame, came from the side. To this, Origami, as if not hearing Toka's words, continued to explain to herself. "Although doing this makes me extremely shy, this is the king's command. I have no choice but to obey. So please, Kyoya, watch carefully. You can even get closer, let me feel your breath." After the 60 seconds were up, the next round began. Looking at the number 5 card, I couldn't help but fall into deep thought. This shouldn't be happening. In my impression, when playing this kind of king's game, shouldn't the girls never be able to draw the king, and the boys always be the king? Why is it the other way around for me? Could it be that I'm really unlucky? And at this moment, Origami held up the king card in her hand and announced, "This task is to read out the words written on the paper by the king in front of everyone." Saying this, Origami took out a piece of arrow short story she had prepared in advance and directly threw it to the smallest, Toka. This. What is this? What's wrong with you?" After reading the short story in her hand, Toka's entire being seemed to be steamed like a lobster, her face flushing as she complained. "Can this content be read out loud? The king's command must be completed. Otherwise, you're disobeying the king." Looking at the short story Origami had thrown to her, Toka's face was filled with shame. Her gaze shifted between me and Origami. "Why you? How could you write something so perverted?" Hearing this, I was extremely curious about the contents of the paper. I immediately activated my clairvoyance ability and saw the contents of the paper clearly. For a moment, I was also dumbfounded, then looked at Origami with a mixture of amusement and speechlessness. "Don't try to find excuses. If you can't complete the king's command, then you can only drink beer." Looking at the glass once again filled by Origami, Toka completely lost her composure. She took a deep breath and read out loud. I'm a perverted slut. Every night, I think about Kyoya's XXX, alone. XXX. I'm a hopeless mother. Due to her shame completely exploding, Toka threw the short story on the ground and then picked up the glass again. Drinking one more glass should be fine, right? However, before Toka could take a second sip of wine, a wave of dizziness swept over her, her body swaying. Why are there several Kyoyas and Origamis in front of me? And they're spinning around. Before she could finish speaking, Toka fell backward onto the ground. I declare Yatagami Toka has failed to complete the king's command and is hereby eliminated. Immediately, Origami's gaze returned to me, and she licked the corner of her lips, saying, "So, now there's no one in the way." I just wanted to say, that's exactly what I wanted. The 5th round began. After the cards were revealed, I still wasn't the king. Origami held up the king card in her hand. The commoner must wear the king's panties on their head. Didn't you say you weren't wearing any? But I have some. Then the 6th round began. Before drawing a card, I activated my precognition ability and instantly found the card marked with the king. Seeing the king card I revealed, Origami was silent for a moment, then gave up drawing a card. I looked at Origami, dressed in the white garter belt maid outfit, and issued a command, "Now, take off one piece of clothing." Hearing this, Origami nodded and obediently took off her maid outfit. Although it was just taking off one piece, Origami displayed a completely unabashed attitude. The 7th round began. I said, "Put on that collar with the bell." 8th round. 9th round. 10th round. As this indecent king's game progressed, both of our actions became completely unrestrained. At the same time, the battlefield of this game also shifted. It continued until dawn. The sound of the bell in the room became abnormally frequent. Stimulated by the continuous ringing of the bell, Toka, who had been drunk and lying on the floor, was also woken up by the noise. Opening her eyes in a daze, Toka stood up and, following the sound of the bell, swayed to a certain room. When she saw the situation in the room clearly, the drunkenness in her body instantly vanished. Origami. Why, you actually snuck ahead. Hearing the sound, Origami, who was doing deep squats, looked at Toka with a flushed face, panting heavily. I'm doing exercises with Kyoya. Kids shouldn't watch. Go back to sleep quickly. Don't think I don't understand anything. I want in too. Saying this, Toka, ignoring her objections, directly pounced. That wraps up this part of What If Sign-In System in High School DxD. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Quick reminder. What If Sign-In System in High School DxD is now on hold, since we've caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these 3 fanfics. What if Gacha system in Modern Family World? What if Natsu has dual elements? What if Transmigrated in One Piece and becoming a Marine? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.